What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Nate and Friends. I'm Nate, and you are friends. I hope everybody's having an awesome day. I'm going to play a video in this episode of Senator Rand Paul going on about reopening the economy. It needs to be reopened. I've been saying this. I know the coronavirus is real. I know it's unfortunate, but come on, guys. We can't keep it closed. If we keep the economy closed, if we keep this closed for longer and longer, even worse stuff is going to happen. We can't just keep on printing money, and we can't keep on bailing out the economy of this country. We have to open back up. We need our rights back as Americans, okay? As Americans. You have a right to wear a mask. I have a right to go to work. You have a right to be scared. I have a right not to be scared. Everyone has rights, okay? So your health, people like the governor of New York is saying that if you want to go to work, you go get a job as an essential worker and you can work during this pandemic. He believes that the coronavirus is 100% death. It's not 100% death. You're not guaranteed to die from the coronavirus. But if you can't feed your family and you have depression or you have a mental illness, you might commit suicide. That's a very real thing. And he basically blew that off. That's not the video I'm going to play, but I want to jump into this video for you guys. So let's get right into it.
No amount of money, not all the money in China, will save us from ourselves. Our only hope of rescuing this great country is to reopen the economy. If you print up billions of dollars and give it to people, they are unlikely to spend it until you end the quarantine. The good news, though, is that the scientific community finally has facts instead of conjecture. The models that used 3.4% mortality were fortunately very wrong. Random samples now of thousands of people have now been tested for antibodies or immunity to coronavirus. Two large randomized studies in California show similar results. The number of people who have already developed antibodies to the coronavirus is 25 to 50 times higher than the number that is being reported as infected. This is great news. This study means that the mortality rate may well be 25 to 50 times less deadly than previously thought. The virus is still dangerous, and we shouldn't ignore the risks, but we should put those risks in perspective. These randomized tests indicate that instead of a 3.4% mortality, that the rate could be as much as only 0.1% or 0.2%. We now have solid scientific evidence from randomized studies that we can manage this disease without continuing the draconian lockdown of the economy. The question before us isn't do nothing or print endless amounts of bailout cash. The debate should now include the one choice that will get our economy growing again: reopening American commerce. So today I rise in opposition to spending $500 billion more. The virus bailouts have already cost over $2 trillion. Our annual deficit this year will approach $4 trillion. We can't continue on this course. No amount of bailout dollars will stimulate an economy that is being strangled by quarantine. It is not a lack of money that plagues us, but a lack of commerce. This economic calamity only resolves when we begin to reopen the economy. Opening the economy will require Americans to rise above partisanship, to understand that deaths from infectious disease will continue, but that we cannot indefinitely quarantine. Make no mistake about it, this has been a difficult month for our country. For many of us, we have not seen a greater challenge. I'm encouraged to see how our communities have responded. In Kentucky, we have seen tremendous collaboration. People from all walks of life have come together to help each other. We have worked to identify and supply additional protective gear, masks, and gloves to protect our doctors and nurses who risk their lives on a daily basis. UPS has set up an airlift operation out of Louisville that includes a healthcare facility for FEMA. This lets FEMA make overnight deliveries from anywhere in the country. Over 3 million pounds of masks, gloves, and other equipment have been shipped through the Louisville airport by UPS. We've worked with some of our bourbon distillers to assist them in transitioning to producing hand sanitizer. We've helped repatriate Americans trapped overseas. We've also seen how our communities have banded together to support neighbors, businesses, and those in need. When protective equipment was in short supply, We discovered a way to use industrial masks, and we supported legislation that allowed us to bring 30-some-odd million masks into the medical community. When the FDA wouldn't approve COVID tests, other than the CDC's, a test that initially failed, we introduced legislation that circumvented the FDA and circumvented the red tape to get testing done quicker. Over the years, the U.S. has accumulated more than $23 trillion in debt, though, spending money that we do not have, borrowing from our kids and our grandkids' future. The gargantuan federal bailout that just passed over $2 trillion brings us closer and closer to a point of no return, a point at which the world loses confidence in the dollar, a point at which our debt becomes an existential threat to our security. The United States was already having to borrow simply to pay our promises to senior citizens. The U.S. is borrowing about $1 trillion a year just to pay for everyday obligations. This is before the pandemic bailout. The U.S. was already borrowing nearly $2 million every minute. With the recent $2 trillion bailout, we are borrowing faster than we have ever borrowed before. Had we practiced sound budgeting in the past, we would have been better, significantly better positioned to weather this storm. Congress's failures of the past, coupled with the pandemic crisis of the present, could seriously jeopardize our economic future. In this moment, we need to think carefully about what we do next. To stop the spread of the virus, commerce has been disrupted, businesses have closed, and millions have lost their jobs. Right now, that number is over 20 million unemployed. The job losses will continue no matter how much money you throw at it until you reopen the economy. Our government has intervened with unprecedented scale to prop up our economy. We've injected $2 trillion. I don't believe it makes sense for the government to provide support to businesses and families. I do believe it makes sense for the government to provide support to businesses and families that can't make it through this. I've supported expanding unemployment benefits to workers displaced by government quarantine, including self-employed individuals that have lost their businesses. But make no mistake, the massive economic calamity we're experiencing right now was caused by government. Passing out $1,200 checks indiscriminately to people who haven't lost their jobs will do nothing to rescue the country. If we were going to make discrete payments, direct payments, the criteria should have been sending checks to people who needed it, people who lost their jobs, people furloughed, people who had wage cuts. Instead of directing help to the unemployed, though, some of these bailout checks will go to couples who earn nearly $200,000 a year. But you could give everybody in the country $12,000 and it wouldn't end this recession. Our recovery only comes when the quarantine is ended. Now, experts will disagree on the exact date that we should reopen the economy, but sane, rational counsel should continue to push for the quickest end possible. Opining about never shaking hands again is a recipe for keeping the economy closed until no one dies from infectious disease. While the infectious disease experts should be queried, so too should economists. We should seek counsel about balancing the harm to health caused by disease with the harm to health caused by enforcing dysfunction on the economy. Not easy decisions. Perhaps most importantly, leaders in each state must weigh in on the problem. New York City's open date will be different than Fargo, North Dakota. We need to get past a one-size-fits-all approach to infectious disease. Realize that most of this money that's being loaned to small business is not a loan. Most of this money will not be repaid. It will ultimately be considered grants and will be added to our national debt. Let's be honest about this. Applications for the program open to overwhelming initial demand. The current data indicates that the money's gone, so now here we are again with leadership from both parties saying, let's do another $300 billion. What's another couple $100 billion? But realize the money desired is not money that we have saved for a rainy day. This money doesn't exist anywhere. It will be created or borrowed. Even more alarming than the money is the idea that one senator can stand on the floor and pass legislation spending $500 billion and have no recorded vote and no debate. Look, I understand the hardships of senators returning from around the country, so I have not invoked the Senate rules to demand a recorded vote. I did return today, though, so that history will record that not everyone gave in to the massive debt Congress is creating. My hope is that across the country, there will.
So, yeah, I mean, that's the video. You know, when you look at the video, do you agree with everything he's saying? I don't know. I mean, I think the economy has to be reopened. We have to reopen the economy. I mean, realistically, I understand the virus is real, the flu is real, cancer is real, car accidents are real. This is all real stuff. Suicide is real, hunger is real, homelessness is real. There's a lot of real stuff that goes on. There's a lot of real stuff that happens. So it's kind of hard when someone says, well, you're going to die from the corona. Listen, I don't think the mortality rate of the coronavirus, it's been proven, is that it's between 0.1 and 0.3%. Okay, that's what it is. There's been tons and tons of tests done. That's what it is. So that's the video that I wanted to show you guys. You guys can weigh in on it in the comments if you'd like. Please like the video, dislike the video. Please subscribe to my channel, ring the bell for all the new content I put out. I appreciate all you guys. I appreciate everybody who subscribes. I appreciate everybody who comments, whether it's a good comment or a bad comment. I appreciate everyone who likes or dislikes my videos. I want you guys to form your own opinion, have your own political view on things, and I appreciate that. So again, my name is Nate. This is Nate and Friends. And you guys have been awesome, and I'll see you guys on the next one.